This show is brought to you by Baraka. Regulated by the DFSA, Baraka is a commission-free investing app where you can access over 6,000 stocks and ETFs from the GCC. With the referral code UNI2022, that's UNI2022, you can get $50 when you fund your account with them. Download the app and start investing.
Our vision was computer on the Starship Enterprise.
Okay.
Yeah. Where you ask, if you're on the deck and you say, computer, warp to, or, teleport me to here, or do this for me, or help me with that, or I need to understand that, or give me this information. Alexa or computer should be able to give you that.
Okay.
And so that's our vision.
Hi everyone and welcome to Conversations with Loulou. My guest is Dr. Raf Fatani. He leads Amazon Alexa's business for the Middle East and North Africa region. Raf is an internet policy expert. He serves on several advisory boards globally and has had consulting mandates with top tech firms like Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Dell, and more. Today we're going to be talking about voice technology, how much it has developed, and what are the challenges of building voice in Arabic dialects from the ground up. So let's tune in. How are you?
Good. It's been a while since we've seen
time.
each other.
Yes. But so good to stay in touch and stay connected and to have you here finally.
Thank you. Well, the pleasure's all mine, of course.
Yeah, how have you been?
Been good. I've been busy. Been busy on the personal front. Been busy on the professional front, which I suspect we'll be talking about.
Yes.
In a little bit. And I, at every milestone, I think, things are going to calm down. I've yet to find that moment where there is a calm.
Never happens.
No.
Never happens. I think the audience should know that you have triplets, which is, which is quite the thing, right?
They are an amazing.
How are they?
They're great. They're great. We had some challenges during my wife's pregnancy, and being the superhero that she is, kind of battled through it, and they battled through it. We had to travel for an operation, and then we had them delivered at 34 weeks, so premature. But I think I was sharing with you the other day, they have defined every odds every step of the way. By week 2, their eyes were opening. I'm following you around, and just remarkable. And actually, we weighed them yesterday. They're 6 kilograms, and they've just hit 4 months.
They're 4 months.
And they're 4 months, yeah.
Well, congratulations. Incredible. You must have your hands full now with work and triplets. Working dad. Working dad
is very different. It's very different. Yeah. It's just a new set of emotions. I suspect, I say this because it's new to me, but for everyone else that have had kids, it's whatever, Raf. Everybody's known this for a while. Yeah. But this whole series of emotions that kind of come and hit you. I remember the first day I had to kind of leave home and go to the office. Or a couple of weeks later, I had to fly out to Seattle to come and meet some of my colleagues. And leaving them for a week was just I teared up at the door, and I don't think I've ever teared up leaving any door behind. So
it's so nice to hear, by the way. It's nice to hear this coming from a man because it's typically what you would expect a woman to say. So it's actually very nice to hear that fathers are becoming more and more involved as well, and that they actually feel and care and all of that.
Well, I'm glad. I think we normalize it. I think we normalize it by talking about it. I by the way, I don't think it's unusual. I do think fathers probably do cry every time they leave the house for the first few times they leave. I just don't think they talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think the more we talk about it, the more we normalize it, and the more it becomes natural and real.
Yeah. So when we were talking, you and I, before this, you told me about an article written by Elias Mhanna, right, who wrote about Arabic and the difficulties of localizing Arabic. And there's one example that he talks about is, Let It Go, Frozen's Let It Go, which I think is still a bit early for your kids. But I think at some point they're going to be, you have 3 boys, so I'm not sure. But at some point they're going to listen to Frozen.
We break all the stereotypes. Yeah. I think we have more pink at home than we have any other color.
Okay, good.
We put them in, don't divulge too much, but we break the stereotypes, let's put it that way. So they will be watching Frozen if they're interested in it.
Okay, so at some point they're going to be watching Frozen. And I saw, and obviously I think it's very much related to what you're doing, the whole localization per se. But I saw that they have Frozen in 41 different languages. The Let It Go song, the main song, and then it's in classical Arabic, like the Fusha.
Yeah. So that was actually one of the things that really inspired me to change our plan of record of when we were launching Alexa in Arabic. It really hit me reading the article, and for those that haven't read the article, let's put the link in one of the comments underneath.
Yeah, but before that, Raf, would you get your children to listen to that, like in that Arabic?
I don't think it's a top down would I let them listen. I think would they be interested in listening? Would they be interested? And I think the answer is, I think for me the answer is no. Would I be interested in listening to something that isn't in my mother tongue, that I have to actively activate more brain cells just to be connected to what's being presented to me than I need to be? When really a feature should be something that I could enjoy with my family and relax and turn off and hear it in the background and almost see the imagery and the animation running through, even if I'm not looking at the screen. And actually it becomes really difficult when it doesn't talk to me, when it doesn't speak my language, when I have to think really hard to what is meant by this and what is meant by that. And I need to have context via imagery. And I think that's when you lose the customer. And I think many are challenged by how do you serve the Middle East? How do you serve 500 million Arabic speaking population? And it's really easy to brush and say, you know what, we can serve all of those with Fusha, we could serve all of those with classical Arabic. And I think Professor Mohanna from Brown University, in the article that you mentioned, I think he says, it's akin to listening to an ESPN reporter speaking in St. James's Bible English. Yeah. And that really hit me, you know what I mean? You imagine that on the next time you watch the American football, you'll be like, that's weird.
I listened to the song. I made it a point to go and listen to it. I mean, the words don't make sense, and it's just such a big problem. I think for parents. I mean, you're a parent now. I want my kids to learn Arabic, and I try to speak to them in Lebanese Arabic, and then they go to school. They learn Fusha Arabic, like the classical Arabic, which is a completely different language, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's really one of the biggest challenges for us in this part of the world, because there's also we self-define ourselves in where we grew up, what dialects our parents speak, but actually it's a mishmash of that, because our generation is a hybrid generation that has traveled a lot, that have been in schools with other people. I remember speaking in Arabic, and I remember many instances where I speak in Arabic and someone turns around and you're like, "Where are you from?" I don't get it. Yeah, because there's words that are Levant, there's words that are Egyptian, there's some Saudi words in there, and I don't understand. I'm like, that's normal. It's communication. It's natural. It's going to evolve, and that's how it's evolved for me. And that's how everyone is unique in how they evolve. But the more important part of this is, how are we served content in this part of the world, given the fact that this evolution happened? When some companies out there think they can still serve you a language that is 1,500 years old or 2,000 years old, and they think, you know what, it's the Middle East, they'll get it. And this is what the companies before us have done. And so that's one of the things that kind of really set me going in my journey.
So tell us about it. I mean, you decided you're in charge of the Arabization, correct, or the localization of the voice technology of Alexa. Actually, you put it in your own words. I'm sure you use better words.
I'm the general manager for Alexa in this part of the world, and I lead Alexa Arabic globally. So in your categorization, there's localization that was used there. I guess it's a lot more than that.
Okay.
Why? Because when Amazon launches a product, no matter what that product is, they build from scratch and they work from the customer backwards. So what does that actually mean in a tangible way? So we have Amazon.ae here in the UAE. Despite the fact that the majority of the language or the transactions that happen on that site are in English, we didn't just use Amazon.com and change the domain to Amazon.ae and you're done. Okay. You have to really think really from the customer. We have things that are quite unique here. We have cash on delivery that was happening at the time when we did the acquisition. Less so now, but still relevant. We have content that is or isn't available. We have different requirements by law. And so it doesn't make sense to piecemeal some of those things to build something in budget because it just won't work. So we build from scratch. So we come here and we build it from scratch. We have tenants to guide us to make sure that we're on track with the bright bar that we have everywhere else. But, and that's what we did with Alexa. It's no different. So when we built Alexa, we built Alexa. It's not, we localize Alexa. So we start from the language itself and the complexities that come with the language.
So how did you make those decisions on the language, for example? Because you could have gone in Fusha, and then somebody would say, Alexa, ma haza.
Exactly. So,
which would be completely unnatural. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So at Amazon, we have this process called a PRFAQ. PRFAQ is another narrative that we write, another type of narrative that we write, where we say we want to launch. It's usually when we want to launch a product, and we say, what would the PR look like? What would we send to the press? What would we write in our blog post? And we say, Amazon launched Alexa in Arabic. And then we start writing, like, what does our customer say? What does our SVP, what did Andy Jassy say in this quote? What do our partners say in this? And then we work backwards from that. And then we look at that and we say, right, this is what the product should do. Yeah. And then we start going and putting the FAQ part of it is like, how do we make each one of these components work? So we said Arabic, like now we need to define what kind of Arabic, well, how does it serve? Like, how do we think about our customer subsets? Who's it going to work for? Who's it not going to work for? Are we going to target everyone? Are we going to be hyper localized? And we make those decisions in the PRFAQ. And so, as I said earlier, we started to put the PRFAQ together, and I was thinking about language, and one of the things I said, I read this article by Professor Mohanna, and I was really struck by the fact that he was right. It was something that I hadn't necessarily thought about. I was frustrated about it, and it was in my subconscious, but not something that I've actively ever spoken about. I've worked, by the way, in the Arabic domain for a while. I was the advisor to ICANN. This is the organization that essentially runs our DNS, our domain name system, as an advisor to their board. And one of the things that I work with them on is Arabization of domains. So when you see Dubai.al-Amarat in Arabic, written in Arabic script. That's part of the work that I've done. So I've always been involved in Arabic in one way or another. But this was like another level. This was like touching every customer. And so the idea that we're launching an assistant should help you in your day-to-day life. Assistant is someone that you should rely on. You should be able to communicate with freely. You should be able to communicate to your assistant in your mother tongue, as you would converse with your child, your partner, your parents. And there's no level of formality that you need to add to that in order for it to work. And so if you think about that as a basic essence, and then you put Fusha to it, or you put like modern standard Arabic to it, like that formula breaks, because none of us speak Fusha fluently. Every one of us has, like if a customer, like I always say this example, if a customer now has to think, here you go, you've got some blinds here. Like, tell me how I would tell Alexa in Fusha, open the blinds.
I don't know.
But you probably would, yeah? But it would just probably take you like a couple of seconds to like get it there. But then it's just easier to go up to the cord and just pull it and open it up yourself. And so the idea is it needs to be flawless. It needs to be simple. And ultimately, that led us to a decision where, are we going to try and serve a 500 million population? Are we going to try and serve the customers where Amazon operates in the Middle East? And it was a hard decision. It wasn't an easy decision, because ultimately we knew we were also going to alienate some customers, knowing that it's not going to work as well for those customers as the ones that we're targeting. So I know right now that today my product doesn't work really well with someone speaking to Alexa with a Francophone North African. Lebanese actually works really well. Okay. But like a Francophone North African accent is just the automatic speech recognition and trying to detecting some of the tonalities, and it's just not built for that.
Okay.
And if I were trying to serve that customer and try and serve a customer in the Gulf, the technology would fail. Yeah, and that's why other tech firms go down the route of let's try and do one brush for
Or
everyone.
they don't do it.
Or they don't do it
Yeah.
because they're like, you know what, the ROI isn't worth our time.
Yeah.
So let's just focus on something
But
else.
isn't it not? I mean, it's a huge, you're talking about a huge region. So, I mean, you know, there is localization everywhere else in the world, right? Even though the populations are much smaller than, for example, you know, the population of Saudi or the population of Egypt. So why would companies think that there is no ROI? What's the logic there?
I think when it comes to voice AI, it's really cutting edge of AI, conversational AI on neural text-to-speech technology, far-field technology. These are all things that in order to localize, it's not just about does the mic work, will it detect the word? There's so much science that goes behind, you know, like I'll give you an example. Alexa is a wake word. Alexa's a wake word is what wakes up the device in order to turn it on, to listen to what you are asking, to in order to deliver what you've asked for. Okay. Now, how does a customer in the Middle East say Alexa? Does it differ than a customer in India, or does it differ from a customer that is in Japan or the US or France? Of course, yes. We have accents. It's natural. And so even that component of like waking up Alexa, and it needs to have like really, really high accuracy because it's like fundamental of what, you know, it's the on button. It's the on and off button, yeah? So it's like fundamental in like this product working. That whole statistical data modeling that you have to do to enable something like that is localized. Now you think about like the complexities of Arabic, and I've said this elsewhere, Arabic has like 12.13 million words. English has 600,000 words. French has only 150,000 words. Just quantity, just numbers. Like I'm not even talking to accents, dialects, influence of other regions or other languages to that dialect, which is even more infused in this part of, just adds further complexity. So when you think about the ROI, it's not just like, is there enough customers here? But like the investment that I have to do due to the complexity that is in the Middle East. That's the question I think a lot of companies are asking themselves. And this is where I think Amazon has done an incredible job in stepping up and saying, this is the future. And we need to ensure that everyone, and our North Star is for Alexa to understand everyone in their natural language and to be able to respond to them in their natural language. And that's the North Star that we're achieving. And the next natural group of customers is going to be Arabic customers. You know, we have English, French, Spanish, Japanese, Hindi, like the series. And so naturally Arabic is going to be one of the next ones or the next one that comes up in this. But as we think about that, then we come to the realization in the PRFAQ, like, oh, this is complex. This isn't simple. The investment in this is incredibly high. And one of the things that I think Amazon's done a great job of is saying, I'm going to take a bet in this part of the world where many others haven't. And I'm going to take a hyper-localized bet because if I make it successful here, I can justify my investment to replicate it and grow in different parts of the Arab world. And I think that's unique to us because I was reading the other day, there are 4.2 billion voice assistants in 2020.
4.2 billion?
4.2 billion. In 2024, it's expected to reach 8.4 billion, which means each person has more than one voice assistant.
Okay.
Yeah. And so how can you equate this number and exclude the Middle East or exclude Arabic-speaking population? You can't, because they're an intrinsic part and a big part of the world population. And so it's natural that we progress into that. But I saw your clogs going there when I was saying those numbers. So let me explain.
I mean, 4.2 billion, just like how, what do you mean? There's
So your phone has a voice assistant.
Okay.
Yeah. You may or may not use it. For those that use it, it accounts for this. Now our technology moves beyond just a voice assistant that is in I don't know, an Echo device or a speaker, but we have, I run a business that's called AVS business, which is Amazon Voice Services. This is where we integrate Alexa in a third party. And this could be anything. This could be, I don't know, your Sonos speaker, your LG TV, your Roomba vacuum cleaner. And so now you can have voice assistants within each one of these, devices. And as as we go into 2024, these are going to continue to increase.
Okay.
What Amazon does and others do in the field, and those numbers are what are going to make up your 8.4 billion.
Okay. But so you ended up deciding on is it Khaliji? What did you launch in the first basically Arabic dialect that you've picked?
So when we we launched with Khaliji Arabic.
Okay.
And I think I can hear folks in the podcast saying, but Raf, there's no such thing as Khaliji Arabic.
Okay.
Which would be right. So we launched with a Khaliji dialect. Okay. So what we did is when we were looking to kind of, I'll say, hyper localize and focus on the customers that we have here between the UAE and KSA, we put 100% of our Arabic speaking customers in our bucket. And then we said, how many customers speak what dialects? And as we went through that data, we realized that the majority of customers spoke a Khaliji dialect by virtue of Saudi being a big country and by virtue of a majority of them speaking a Gulf dialect.
I set up my Alexa and I put it in English. Maybe I should give it a try in Arabic, huh?
We'll have words later.
Okay. Okay. No, it's I mean, maybe because it's just easier for us, and I think going back to my comment about the kids, like for us, it's just sometimes easier instead of trying to figure out what to speak to them if it's in the Fusha that they're learning in school or like our dialect, or just speak to them in English. Sometimes we just go to the default, like the easiest, and we just speak in English since everyone speaks English here. But I'm not happy about that. I think it's something that definitely we need to address.
My take, and I don't know, my hypothesis, as it were, is I think it's because technology's let us down in this part of the world. And I think that's really part of why we levitate towards English, because we know it works. And like many of us speak it fluently, use it in our day-to-day, use it in our working environment.
We're using it now.
Yeah. And so we levitate towards it because it works. And technology has let us down. It took so long for phones to evolve to add an Arabic keyboard, and we had to use numbers and letters to be able to write to our friends and loved ones, a simple SMS with however many characters that we were limited to. It evolved, use whatever processing, word processor that you have on your laptop or your computer. Your right to left rendering is broken. You send an email and it's like upside down, inside out, and you get frustrated with it. And after your fifth attempt, you're like, you know what? This person understands what I'm saying in English. Let me just use it. And so naturally, because of this, we have just defaulted to English. And like you said, or you're upset with yourself that you default to this, and we all do that.
Okay, good. Let's take a short break.
All right.
This show is brought to you by Baraka. Regulated by the DFSA, Baraka is a commission-free investing app where you can access over 6,000 stocks and ETFs from the GCC. With the referral code UNI2022, that's UNI2022, you can get $50 when you fund your account with them. Download the app and start investing. So Raf, you mentioned that we have voice everywhere, right? Our phones have it, and it's being integrated in more and more technologies. But personally, I don't use it a lot. Okay, I don't know why. I know it's there, but I just don't. And looking at it also, I don't know. At least in our part of the world, I don't see mass adoption for voice as a technology, right? And why is it? Is it is it a behavioral change that needs to happen? Is it just that we're not used to, even though talking is very natural? Is it the technology issue, as you highlighted that what you said about Arabic basically not being developed here, even though I could do it in English, but I don't. So what's happening there?
There's a couple of things. First of all, the technology has been evolving rapidly, I think, since the early 2010s. And this evolution hasn't necessarily touched this part of the world.
Okay.
And so to answer your question directly, we just arrived. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think for it to be meaningful, it needs to be natural, and it hasn't been. And so we've all said, what does this add to me? Like, why do I need to add another layer? Why don't I just pick up my phone and find out what the weather is, or set my timer on my phone, or wherever it is? Because it's complex. I think the bottom line is the technology just arrived here. It's been evolving for a while. And ultimately, the customer is not aware of what Alexa or what other voice assistants are able to offer. But if you think about the core of what Amazon is doing with this technology, it is a voice assistant. It is a technology that makes your life easier. And so there's a lot of benefits in having an Alexa. I use it every day. I can't imagine my world without it. And I don't just say this because I lead this business, but I say this because it's genuinely helpful. And
Let's like outside of Alexa, I mean, in general, because even I looked on the internet just to see like how much people are using voice as a technology to, for example, search. And I think I saw a number where it's 26%, and I think that is probably a couple years old on Statista. So it's not again, even globally, it's not mass, it's not everybody's doing it.
well, I mentioned earlier, there are 4.2 billion voice assistants out there being used, and this number will look to be 8.4 billion by 2024.
Okay.
So that's like the first thing. The second one is the technology itself has evolved rapidly in a very short period of time, and it continues to evolve. We say at Amazon, it's day one. By no means I will tell you that Alexa and other voice assistants are going to be perfect in understanding every request and perfect in.
But
being
is
able
it
to respond.
that? Is it the technology, or is it more of a behavior?
No, it's not technology nor the behavior. It's really about the environment that it comes in. Yeah. So I'll give you an example. I bought a set of devices for my mother when we launched, and she's like, "Why do I need these?" And that is the important question. Why do I need these? What am I doing in my life? I've lived my life for 60 odd years. Like, what change is this going to bring to me? And when I put those devices in my mother's home and turned them on and started educating her on how she can use them to make things easier in her day-to-day life, that's when it flipped.
Okay,
And
can you...
I'll give you an example. Right now, my mother wakes up every day for Fajr prayer. Okay? And in order to do that, she has an alarm that sets off on her phone that she may or may not remember to put on, that a prayer time changes. The prayer time changes because the times for dusk to dawn changes every day.
Okay.
And that is a manual process. She goes to her, I don't know, you've seen the Arabic Hijri calendars, you flip through, it's got all the little numbers and days, and she tries to figure out, and then she sets her alarm to do that. I set a routine for her that allows her 5 minutes before the adhan comes in, the air condition increases slightly in temperature, so the blinds in her room automatically start to come up, and she wakes up naturally to that process. Okay. And then she hears the sort of the adhan running through as the adhan kicks in. That becomes a seamless process. Why? Because it becomes a routine. Okay. So Alexa learns this and it becomes intelligent. What I mean by that is the next day she sets that the next day she doesn't need to set that another routine, because Alexa will know that Fajr tomorrow is at a different time. It set the prayer time at a different time. It sets up the routine to wake her up at a different time. Okay. And now that is a whole effortless process in order to do that. We live and we're privileged enough to live in much bigger homes than is the case in Europe or other parts of the world. We're also privileged enough that we have help in our house. Communicating is usually, I know in my house at least, is by shouting. It's not the most effective way of like connecting with people or getting what you need. And so she drops into the kitchen to ask for some water or her medicine or whatnot.
Okay.
That is convenience. And that convenience factor has come with the evolution of the technology.
Okay.
And I think the biggest challenge that we have today is not our customers using it. Customers are using it all around the world. I think the biggest challenge is customers here in the UAE and KSA, how do we break down and how do we solve their problems to make it meaningful enough for them to see value in it? And we tried that, and we're in the process of doing that. And it's day one, and we'll continue to iterate and we'll continue to build. But things like prayer time is not something that existed as a feature. It's not something that we had anywhere else in the world. When we were doing that PRFAQ, we looked back at the customer and we said, spirituality is an important part of our customer day to day here. So you can't be an assistant if you're not helping them on their spiritual journey at the same time. It just doesn't make sense. It's like you can do everything, just don't do religion. But if religion and spirituality plays such a big role in their lives, then you need to be enabling the customer. And so that's what Alexa does. It starts to enable more and more. And as the technology evolves, it moves into what we call ambient technology. Technology that sits and fades in the background and is only there to help you. And it starts to predict what you want. So you set your alarm for Fajr prayer. Today, it realizes that the time that you set is around Fajr prayer, and it says, "Oh, you've set your alarm on Fajr time. Would you like me to set this every day?" And then you say yes or no, and with that one command, you get a series of activities that happen on the back of that.
So you get some automation for different types of tasks that you otherwise would have to do it manually.
Yes, but it's more than automation. It's also predicting. So, and our vision in the future is actually you say less and you get more, because Alexa becomes intelligent enough to predict what you're doing and how it can help you. So you ask Alexa, I'm hypothesizing the future right now. You ask Alexa at 3:00, what time is it? Or just around 3:00, what time is it? And it says, oh, it's 2:45. Next day you ask, it's 2:45. Third time, Alexa asks you, why are you asking me this question? And then you say, well, because I need to pick up my kid from school that finishes at 3:30. And so Alexa says, would you like me to remind you this every day? And so it starts to understand these things. And then at 3, it's not about telling you, oh, hey, you need to go pick up your kids at 3. But like it realizes that you turn off your air conditioning. So why does it not turn off your air conditioning? Well, you've left your room. So why does it turn off your light? And it needs to have such a high accuracy in predicting what you want that it doesn't become intrusive, it becomes helpful. And that's where the intelligence part comes in, because it's not just about automation, it's about automating and intelligence. And that takes time, and we're getting there, and that's kind of our vision. But that's ultimately where Alexa is heading.
But maybe that's why you don't have the mass adoption as well, because all of these things are probably costly. You need to have the right infrastructure in your house, right? You need to have all these connected devices in your house for it to work. So maybe as with every new technology, you're probably targeting the more affluent people, or people who can, afford to have a device in every room, or or have blinds that are connected.
So here's the beauty of all of this. Is it shouldn't be.
Okay.
Price shouldn't be the prohibitor in this process. We made a decision a long time ago, way before I joined my company, on how we set our prices for, say, these Echo devices. And we mainly break even on these devices. We maybe up or down a little bit if there's a promotion, but really we don't make money on the devices.
Okay.
Because where the invention happens is not in the device. Where the invention happens is in Alexa, the technology, is in the AI, is in the speech recognition, is in the far field technology. That's where the invention happens. And so for us, like I said, the future that we envision is going to be more so in all your appliances that you live around the house, and they talk to each other, they talk to you, they understand you and your habit, and they help you in your day-to-day life. And so when we think about price, it needs to be a core component of that. Yep. And so right now you can buy an Echo device, I don't know, less than 200 dirhams, and when they're on promotion, they're like close to 100 dirhams. That's not a prohibitive price point for many. When I think about smart devices, you get smart light bulbs at 20 dirhams. Their entry point is very low today. And as we continue to see more adoption in this part of the world, that's going to continue to drop. And it's going to be the norm. Because just as we moved from the traditional Edison light bulbs into an LED light bulb, it was expensive. But as there was more mass adoption, the price of LED light bulbs. And here's the beauty of where we are today in this part of the world is there's been so much mass adoption around us that the prices have already come down. Like where we come in now, when we started to integrate smart devices with Alexa, it wasn't 20 dirhams for a light bulb. It was a lot more expensive. And so the Middle Eastern customer and the customer in the UAE and Saudi today comes in as a really great point. There's a lot of innovation that's happened in the long term elsewhere that's helped us unblock a lot for us. There's a lot of things around us that has been enabled that has driven prices down. And when you go buy your next TV, you're not going to look for a TV that has Alexa or has another voice assistant in there. The likelihood is your TV will have a voice assistant in there. And so there's no additional cost for you. If you're going to go buy a TV, it's going to have that in there. And with time, when you go buy a new car, it will have a voice assistant in there. We just announced our partnership with BMW, with Lucid Motors. And on Lucid, there's a long, deeper rooted piece there with this part of the world. And that's just going to continue to grow. I'm not just talking about, hey, Alexa, play this song or that song, despite the fact that it's incredibly delightful. But I'm actually talking about controlling and being in charge of the car through Alexa and that innovation. So when the car detects you're coming around the corner here to your house, it realizes that you're yay far, and then it should open your garage door, and it realizes that you're going to open your garage door. So it turns on the air condition in your bedroom, knowing that your habit is to come to the bedroom and go to sleep after you come back from work. And so that part of the innovation happens seamlessly in the background. But all of that doesn't happen with an additional cost to you as a customer, because you are going off and buying the things that you need to buy anyway. And so as we continue to integrate voice assistants and smart devices within the broader community, it will just naturally happen. And as I think about that, it's not just about, by the way, it's not just about the hardware and the devices. It's also about like the community we work with. Right now, you think about like Alexa has skills. Yep. And these skills, we don't develop these skills. A lot of these skills are developed by third-party developers.
Okay. What do you mean by skills?
So skills are what an app to an app store is. A skill is a skill to our skill store. And essentially, third-party partners build skills that talk to their customers via voice. Now, think of any app that you have on your phone. Think of a couple of the guests that you've had before me, and think about all the different technology that they bring to the table. And now think about adding voice as a layer, a component for them to talk to their customers through it. Whether it be, ordering today, you can order a Kareem via an Alexa device. You can ask where your car is. Now, let me put that into a real life context. And so we break down from what the gimmicky part of this is, or lack of, to how it becomes a utility. It's a Saturday night, you're getting ready to go out with your husband, you're putting the kids to bed, you're rushing around, you're looking for this. Last thing you need to do is keep looking at your phone to see where the car is. Is it here or not? Now, you're walking around and rushing around your house, and you say, hey, Alexa, where's my captain? And Alexa says, he's 2 minutes away. He's 1 minute away. Your captain's here. Now, how helpful is that to you? Because you can continue to do whatever you need to do. It gives you more time to be Loulou and to be able to do what you need to close off before you head out that night. And that is incredibly powerful, because it doesn't just serve like what I would call our traditional customer, but it's someone else's customer as well. So now we're enabling other parts of the community to use this technology at no cost to build a skill or enable their skill via voice. And now they can talk. And then think about like accessibility. Like the opportunities are endless in what you can do with this.
Okay.
And that's been like a core part of our success. And in this part of the world, we've just started.
Very briefly, but what were some of the like biggest challenges you've had so far in terms of launching here?
Language is like a key component. I know we touched on that earlier on. But understanding not just language, but understanding intent, I think was quite critical, because we can say things and we can, I could be, and Arabic is a very, what's the word? The intent behind why you say things, the way you say them, makes a difference. So you can say two phrases and they're the same. They can say one phrase and it could have two different meanings.
That's true.
And just your intent behind them and the context is a context-driven language. And so understanding that local context in order for Alexa to be able to decipher what the customer wants was a huge challenge. So it's not just about like, Alexa, what's the weather? And then I pick up Alexa, weather, like Alexa turns on weather, and then I try and identify where is the customer based in terms of location, what the time is, and identify where the weather is from a weather source. But when it becomes a lot more complex, because part of what we wanted to do is we wanted to build, like, again, it's an assistant. It needs an assistant. Like if I bring in an alien as an assistant into your home, it'll be a really weird experience, not knowing what things are around your house. What is this mat? Why do I not need to walk on it? What is this? What is that? And so it needs to also understand your culture. And so that's a big component of what we did. The cultural driven context and language, incredibly important part of the challenges, incredible challenge that we had to kind of decipher. But also building locally. So when I talked about prayer time as a new build, again, this is not just about an API that says, hey, Alexa, when is Maghrib prayer? And it tells you that, Maghrib prayer is at 5:23 or whatever time it is that day. But it's about being able to link it to the back end, to be able to connect it to our routines and automate it with our smart offerings. But also, a Hijri calendar. And you may turn around and say, Raf, but who's using the Hijri calendar today? Well, we do it in a subconscious way. We think about Ramadan. Ramadan is purely based on a Hijri calendar. It's a Hijri month. And so if a customer asks, hey, 2 days before Ramadan, remind me to go and do something. A day before Eid, remind me to send my mom a happy Eid note because I'm not paying attention. Alexa should be able to do that. And that's local, which means we have to build the technology with these localities in mind to ensure that it's meaningful enough, even if it's not the thing that's going to be used every day. And and also we needed it to be meaningful. What I didn't want to do is build a calendar that has two little numbers and you have to squint really well to understand to see which day it is. That's not going to add any value because you and I don't use it. We know it. And that's the beauty of building things locally. We turned around and we said, this is a gimmick. This is not useful for our customer here. Why? Can we do that really well? Because we built it locally. And that's what really made the big delta.
And built locally means also your team is all here in the region.
Yes. Proudly, my team is all Arabic speaking. I have two teams, one based in the UAE, one based in Saudi. We have different teams doing different things that help Alexa get smarter every day. I'll give you an example. I have what we call our personality, what Alexa's personality. Essentially, it's the kind of local content within Alexa. Alexa understanding when it's National Day, when it's Ramadan, when the national football team is playing, when there's a national mourning, when there's a big announcement of something that's happened positively or negatively and how we react. Alexa has an opinion on those things. It's not, today's a sad day because there's a mourning, but actually it can be useful in that day-to-day activity to tell you, well, if you want to pay your respects, this is where you can go pay your respect. That can't be done from Timbuktu. That needs to be done locally. That needs to be understood. And this team sits here, is from here, that is driving the day-to-day digest of what's happening and teaching Alexa to be conscious and local to what the customer is asking, to have also opinions. And that's the difference between, a search engine where you ask a question and you get a response versus an assistant where you may have an opinion, where you may have advice. And that's also another part of our North Star where we want to be. But ultimately, in order to do all of those things, you need to crack culture.
How far it's going to go? So paint us a picture about the future. Not only voice, but in terms of, connected homes. What will our home, how far technology will go in 2025 or say 2030?
Yeah.
What's in store?
Okay. So I talked earlier about the PRFAQ to launch Arabic. I can maybe take even a step back in time and talk about the PRFAQ for when we launched Alexa 8 years ago.
Okay.
And in that PRFAQ, our vision was computer on the Starship Enterprise.
Okay.
Yeah. Where you ask, if you're on the deck and you say, computer, warp to, or, teleport me to here, or do this for me, or help me with that, or I need to understand that, or give me this information. Alexa or computer should be able to give you that.
Okay.
And so that's our vision. In order to do that, you should be able to speak Alexa in Klingon, in Arabic, in English, in whatever language, because Alexa should be able to understand. And so our North Star and our vision is that. What does this look like in the future? I suspect less speaker devices and just having a voice assistant integrated within the appliances of your homes, where it's making a lot more decisions on your behalf that are accurate enough not to annoy you and actually delight you. And in order to do that, you need to build trust. And so for things that you see coming out today, there's been multiple iterations, like I shared with you before. The exciting thing about Alexa is not the Echo device that it's housed in, because it could be housed in any device. It's the technology that sits behind it. It's the AI, it's the machine learning. That's where the invention happens, and that's what's really exciting.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for these great insights. I really enjoyed the conversation. I'm sure our guests have learned a lot as well about what you're doing at Alexa. Look forward to hosting you again in the future.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Raf.
Thanks, Loulou.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Conversations with Loulou with Dr. Raf Fatani. I really hope you enjoyed it. As usual, don't forget to visit the show's website, conversationswithloulou.com. You can also follow me on all social channels at Loulou Khazen. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube to get the latest episode. If you love what you're hearing, please do give us a rating and a review. It really helps in getting the show discovered. I wish you love, light, and see you in a couple of weeks.